if you don't know Ryan Sakamoto, you should. He and I broadcasted games for Hot Mike last year, like every Monday night game and Thursday night game, a bunch of games. And he's my go-to source for everything football. He's basically a scout. And I had him on YouTube before the draft to talk about what we would do. And I haven't talked to him since then. So I thought I'd have him on and go through each draft pick and see what Ryan thinks. So Ryan, how you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for having me on your show, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So what do you think of Javon Kinlaw?
Man, Javon Kinlaw, he's a proverbial boomer bust prospect. What I like from Javon Kinlaw is he does play with a hot motor. We all know his background, his story, so it's very inspirational. Being homeless to now seeing success in the NFL. So it's that alone, you got to root for the kid. One thing that I will point out, though, there's a lot of fans out there who believe that he's going to be better than DeForest Buckner. I would pump the brakes on that simply because of the fact that if you look at the two players, you can't argue Buckner's production. He was one of the highest rated players in terms of making tackles for a defensive lineman. That translated to the NFL level. If you remember in his rookie year, they ran him into the ground, and he still racked up a high tackle number.
Yeah, 1,000 snaps, I think.
So, yeah, he played a lot of snaps. And that's what happens when you get a player that, can be versatile enough to play in a 4-3 or a 3-4 base.
Right.
Now, what Javon Kinlaw brings to the table is he brings a physical aspect to his game. He's 6'5", 324 pounds with 35-inch arm length. That kind of production does not grow on trees.
Even Buckner couldn't
That's
match
rare. That. Exactly. And so when you, as a coach, when you look at it, or as a scout, you say, hey, look, you can't coach these traits. Like, I wish I was 6'5". I wish I was just 5'10", okay? And you can't coach that. You can't be like, hey, let's coach you to be.
And not only that, it's such a small segment of the world population that is that tall, right?
Yeah, exactly. So from that standpoint, I do like the pick. I do believe they still reached for need when they traded back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and gave up a fourth round or gained a fourth round pick in return, because let's face it, John Lynch can call him a foundational player, one of the 6 foundational players. But let's be honest, if DeForest Buckner was still there playing on his 5th-year option, they wouldn't have picked Javon Kinlaw. They would have went another route. But the fact that they traded DeForest Buckner to the Indianapolis Colts, there's a huge need there, and you have to address the need. So as much as I like Javon Kinlaw, I like what he brings to the table. He's tenacious. He plays with a nasty mean streak. He brings a strong bull rush. He can play sideline to sideline. He's very versatile in that you can use him as a 3-4 defensive end if they do switch to a 3-4 base, if Saul is no longer there, or he can kick inside as a 4-3 tech. So you got to look at it from the bigger picture, because let's be honest, coaches do not last very long in the NFL. Even after winning a Super Bowl, that ship can crash hard fast. We all see it with the Los Angeles Rams.
Saleh could get hired as a head coach, so one way or another, they could have a new scheme.
Hey, yeah. Exactly.
Well,
so I do like Javon Kinlaw. He's a good fit for the team, but I just don't think he's on Buckner's level. That's just my personal
opinion. Let me tell you what
opinion.
I've seen from Kinlaw, and tell me if you agree. I've been watching him a lot, and what I see is a dude who can even play some nose tackle. He can hold up to the double teams. He's an asset on a goal line defense. He's really strong. He's extremely strong, and he has low pad level. He has a low center of gravity. He's hard to move, which makes him a great fit in the wide 9, because as we've talked about a lot, when you move those D ends outside the tight ends, those D tackles are exposed to double team blocks and inside zone runs and stuff. So that's really not what Buckner's built, is to take on double team after double team, because he's so tall and high cut. So Kinlaw should be better at that. You said he's a sideline to sideline guy. I don't see that. Now, maybe he has the athleticism, but when I watch him, he reminds me of Armstead, where a guy who will whip the dude in front of him, show off his power, and then the play's not over, right? Like the ball gets away and he doesn't chase.
Right.
Like Buckner always did. And I guess you'd expect that he's not a top 10 pick and he's going to have some weaknesses. But have you seen that too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Javon Kinlaw definitely has some weaknesses. Getting back to sideline, he has the agility because he has the quick feet. When you're playing in the defensive tackle position, you need to have quick feet and have read and react recognition, right? So you have to be able to what's called work through the trash because there's people undercutting you. You have blockers on the blind side pressure. So you got to have a high football IQ to kind of take on leverage, let alone taking on multiple blockers simultaneously. So when I speak sideline to sideline, I don't necessarily mean like a linebacker running sideline to sideline. I mean movement skills sideline to sideline. So
got it.
From that standpoint, yes, I believe he does have that skill set, but there are cons to his game. To think that he's not going to have these mistakes, I mean, they're going to have he's a rookie. He's going to have rookie mistakes. Now, the question that I have is, how will that translate? Because losing to Forrest Buckner in the heart of the defense and your best player on the team is going to be a huge loss.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's a lot of 49ers fans who think that Javon Kinlaw is the next thing since sliced bread, and he's going to be better than Buckner, where it's not so clear-cut as that, because Buckner was an all-pro. Buckner got snubbed in numerous Pro Bowls.
Right. Well, one thing I've seen from Buckner, I felt like he came into the league with a full array of pass rusher moves. Like, he had multiple things he could do, whereas from Kinlaw, what I see is a bull rush and like a rip move.
Yes.
Like, he's a pretty rudimentary pass rusher. He's big and strong and powerful, but he's not doing swim moves and club moves and high-level stuff that Buckner was doing when he was 22.
Yeah. So that all comes down to hand placement, using jump cuts, things like this to kind of out-leverage your opponent and counter.
Right.
And these are things that are going to be learned, though. So Javon Kinlaw definitely has the talent to do it. Whether or not that talent translates onto the field is another thing.
Okay, last thing about Kinlaw. We haven't mentioned it, but his knee was red flagged at the combine.
Yeah.
They did not say that it's arthritic, but they said that it is at high risk to become arthritic and that he's likely going to have lots of injections and spend more time in the training room than other players. And that's significant because Buckner was not like that. He came into the league with no red flags, and he missed, 2 games? And he's perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
So what do you what is your, I mean, I guess from the Niners perspective, like, they're not necessarily committed to him long term, so who cares what he's going to be like in 26, but what do you think about spending first round picks on players who may have arthritic knees?
It's a risk reward business, right? So you take the risk and you weigh it versus the reward. When you take a player that high, I would like to take a player that's more of a safer pick. Going back to, let's say, the Miami Dolphins, right, at number 5, right? People are saying, well, Tua Tagovailoa, I don't know if they should draft him because of his injury.
Right.
But Tua Tagovailoa is also a franchise quarterback. Right. So the risk was well worth the reward for the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. When you look at Javon Kinlaw, he also had 2018 hip surgery. So when you take that into effect, you take what you just said, the tendonitis in the affected knee, which they said is not going to be, chronic or anything like that, but it can develop into a chronic condition.
It can.
That can also lead to ACL injuries. There's 70 to 100,000 ACL injuries in the United States. 15 to 25 is the range of when those injuries mostly occur.
Interesting.
Of those injuries,
when you're growing.
Of those injuries, yes,
growing.
Yes, exactly. And Grant, here's this. Here's a fact that 70% of those injuries are non-contact.
We saw it with Chris Culliver. Were you there that day?
Yes, I was.
I saw it, man. That was tough. That was tough to watch.
I know.
He just planted and the knee gave out.
Yeah.
Yep.
It did. And then I actually went over his house that same day after practice was over, just to check up on him, make sure he's okay. So, it was tough, man. It was tough to see that happen.
One more thing with Kinlaw, the thing what I feel like I'm saying or what I'm seeing is Buckner was 6'8", 300. Kinlaw's 6'5", 324, and it ain't all muscle.
Correct.
He's got a little bit of extra chunk on him, which I think the Niners like. Yeah. But to be the next Buckner, he's gonna have to get in better shape, man. You know what Buckner's like.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a tire around his stomach. Buckner's in great shape. Anyway.
Yeah. And he has that poly blood. He has good genetics. I mean, genetics do play a role. He has that poly blood in him, right? So it's like, that it all bone density plays a role, lean body mass plays a role, promotes tissue tensile strength plays a role. All that plays a role in making the perfect athlete.